The main thing is that all those things are possible. They're not exactly possible for the common person. The reason why I bring it up is just to show the astrological correspondences.
What you're talking about is Avadhuta Brahmana. It is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna talks about the Avadhuta Brahmana. That is, you reach a stage where the entire material has nothing, no existence. Avadhuta Brahmana. Avadhuta Brahmana.
There are many descriptions like that in Srimad Bhagavatam.
So very clear explanation he has given. There is no attachment whatsoever, not even to clothes. Actually what happens is when they get one step, often they start showing it. And once they start showing it, they lose it. The person who is truly got something, he realizes there is no need to show it. Why am I showing it to somebody else?
Well, the thing is too, that especially in Kali Yuga, these things become more a function of ahankara than they do.
Because of ahankara, yes.
Any
and
kind
then
of
they again
saintliness.
fall down. The one you're talking about is one who actually got all of 8 of them and finally reached the level of Avadhuta. Krishna's Bhagavatam is there.
And apart from those people, I mean, we have some charts we're going to show today, later on this afternoon, of people who have certain kinds of cities, like bilocation, for example. It can be seen many different places at once. Or a couple of years ago, we did the chart of Padre Pio, who has the stigmata, which means the blood flowing from the palms and from the feet, somehow miraculously. These are also cities. But the thing is that you know, a true saint isn't going to concern himself with these kinds of things. Why? Because it draws attention to the person performing the siddhis. A true saint is going to want to draw people's attention toward the deity, Jagannath, Vishnu, Shiva, etc. Now, coming back to the remote origins of creation, I promise you we're going to do a whole lot of Jyotish today. I just want to set a foundation here. But let's see, it is described that there are, through Vishnu, who is the presiding deity of the material mode of goodness, there is the creation of 33 forms of devatas, who expanded to 330 million forms. Now, these 3 devatas are broken down into various categories. 12 adityas, right? We went over this a couple of years ago, but this is just brief. 12 adityas, which are related to the 12 signs of the zodiac, and which talk about or speak to the linear progression of the state of being, which we call time. 8 vasus and 11 rudras. Now, the 8 vasus are appropriate to this conversation, are they not? We have the Eightfold Mystic Yoga practice. We have 8 siddhis. We have 8 vasus, who are givers of light or givers of knowledge, and are also who represent the sustaining force in nature that sustains life for all living beings. So they're listed here, and they relate to the 5 Mahabhutas, including Dhruva, which is the pole star, which relates to ether or antariksha, Soma, the moon, Pratyusha, which is broken down into 2 categories, sun, and then the dawn, which brings the lagna into the picture, and then Prabhas, or the splendorous lights, which relate to the 28 nakshatras. So we have relation to 8 charakarkas, we have 8 vasus. Then we have what is called the Ashtadala Padma. Let's see that really nice looking diagram here. There it is. That diagram has Freedom Coal written all over it. The artistry of Freedom Coal. Where you have 8 directions. I'll go over this briefly. 8 primary directions, 8 intermediary directions. The 8 primary directions being ruled over each of 4 cardinal signs and 4 fixed signs, and the 4 intermediary directions being ruled over by the dual signs. Now you see the planets that rule each one of those directions are exactly opposite in meaning to the opposite direction. For example, you see the sun there in the eastern direction. Then you see Venus there in the western direction. So the sun and Venus basically interfere with each other in principle. The sun is pure light, pure consciousness. Venus is pure illusion. Isn't it interesting that Venus is the only planet in our solar system that orbits in the opposite direction of all the other planets? So all the planets are going in one direction, Venus is going in the other direction. What does that tell you about Venus? Or people who are absorbed, of course all of us, including myself, with a Vargotama Libra rising, and Scott Ritchie over there with a Libra rising as well. But anyway, the Sun and Venus are opposite ends of the spectrum, and therefore in the Kala Chakra they represent opposite principles. Or to speak of Mars and Saturn, opposite principles. Now the Kala Chakra has some very unique uses. We're not going to go into them today. We're trying to point out the relevance here between 8 Charakarkas, 8 directions represented by the Kala Chakra, 27 nakshatras, which are variously aligned with the spokes of the Ashtadala Padma, or the Kala Chakra, and then 3 states of being. The outer rim would represent the physical. Is this right? You can tell me if I'm wrong. Outer rim represents the physical. Next to that, the mental. And the inner portion, the soul, the spirit. So 27 nakshatras are represented in the Kala Chakra. In one sense, 12 adityas are represented in the Kala Chakra as well, in the form of all 12 of the zodiacal signs being represented here. Earth, water, fire, air, and ether. 5 Mahabhutas are represented in the Kala Chakra also. The Mahabhutas aren't listed on this diagram here. Maybe we could get freedom to include those and then email it to all of us, because that might take some time. But the Mahabhutas are variously aligned with the 8 corners of the Kala Chakra as well. What then to speak of 15 Tithis? And then also Rahu. The sun and the moon, 5 planets, then also Rahu. So why should Rahu be included in this mix? Yes. But you'd be in one heck of a fix if you left Rahu out. Anyway, Rahu means because of desire there's rebirth. The Kala Chakra simply represents a progression of the state of being, which we call time. For example, we were talking about last year, we're talking about the progression of the yugas. And the 4 yugas, Satya Yuga, the Golden Age, aligns with the sun in the eastern direction. Then the Treta Yuga, where goodness or religious principles is diminished by 25%, is aligned with Jupiter and the southern direction of the Kala Chakra. Then coming around to Dwapara Yuga, where religious principles are diminished by 50%, in the western portion of the Kala Chakra, and then Kali Yuga, which is represented by the sign in Capricorn, in the northern portion of the Kala Chakra. And also we have the 4 divisions of the day, the 4 Gayatris. What are they called? The Gayatri at dawn, the Gayatri at noon, then at dusk, and then at midnight. What's interesting about this, what Gayatri means, the sacred hymns that are recited, not only to Bur Bhuva Sva, or earth, and then the Bhuva Loka, which is above earth, Svarloka, which is above that, but then there's Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satya Yoga Loka. There is a reference to all these different lokas in the Gayatri mantras. So do you know anybody, have you ever heard of anybody who chants the Gayatri mantra at midnight? No. Midnight is complete absence of anything, light, goodness. Similarly, Kali Yuga is a complete absence of anything or light or goodness. What's interesting, and we pointed this out last time, or Sanjay pointed out, that the Kali Gayatri, which is at midnight, begins the day according to Kali Yuga oriented calendars, instead of as in India where the actual day begins at dawn with the Brahma Gayatri. Anyway, so we can talk, or Sanjay can talk about Kala Chakra. Now, where do the 11 Rudras come into the Kala Chakra? It seems to me that each of these 11 directions, or 8 directions, sorry, have rulerships by various sets of yoginis. Now, can you draw a correspondence between these yoginis and 11 Rudras?
There is a direct correspondence between the yoginis and the tithis.
And the tithis.
There is also a correspondence between the yoginis and the varas.
And the what?
Varas, the days.
Days.
So actually what's exactly happening is that these yoginis are not different, they are one yogini.
Okay.
Because death is only one.
Right.
There is a god of death.
Right.
His spouse takes different forms. Sometimes she has big teeth, sometimes big nails. So any description of the yogini you can see in the Prashna Marga, it's most horrendous description.
Yeah.
Because death is a very painful experience.
Yes. And so thank you. And so yoginis have to do with Kala Chakra.
They do, because they basically, Kala Chakra's most important truth is that we all will die one day.
Yes, exactly.
And the god of death reigns supreme.
Right.
So it is the yogini. You know, when the yogini shows her teeth, it's time for you to go.
It's no wonder we don't like to mess with yogini dasha and all of that.
We are. That's why. There is a saying, you know, japa in Kali Yuga. You take the name. In Kali Yuga, you just take a name, that Shakti comes.
Yeah.
So if you have to take a name, you might as well take Krishna's name. Keep
Yeah.
saying Krishna, 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 Jagannath will come. Why say yogini, yogini, yogini? Yogini will come.
Yeah, with big claws and, whatever else, some dramatic kinds of appearance. So the point being that from Narayana there are 12 Adityas, there are 8 Vasas, and there are 11 Rudras. All of these are evenly distributed and represented in the Kala Chakra. Now coming to tithis, you put up the chart of Swami Vivekananda. That would be on page 7. Okay. Yes, that's her.
How does that add up to 31 if you have
Ex-
the details 8 buses? Supposed to add up to 33?
Yes,
We have
33.
We got to add Brahma to that. That is Prajapati
Prajapati and
Indra. That is the ascendant and the 10th house.
Yes.
The cusp of the ascendant and the 10th house. Because without that, our entire Jyotish paradigm is not complete.
Yes. Yeah, thank
need
you
that.
for that question. I neglected to say that. There are 33 main forms. Okay. So you have five Mahabhutas. You have sun and moon. You have nakshatras, Indra, and Prajapati. Prajapati meaning a form of Brahma who creates. Indra meaning the presiding deity of the higher planetary systems. The 10th house. Right. This is within the text of this page. So now coming to the question of tithis, there's a very interesting technique Well, we know that a Tithi basically is the movement of the moon 12 degrees for every movement of the sun by 1 degree. So we know that the sun moves through the 12 signs of the zodiac in 1 year. And so by this calculation of 12-degree movement of the moon in front of the sun, we can map the movements of the moon as part of its Tithi to the 12 signs of the zodiac. Now, why should we do that? Well, sun theoretically represents Lord Shiva. Moon represents Shakti, and so the union of Shiva and Shakti creates the births of all living beings. So the Tithi itself can be calculated. You simply find the displacement angle between the moon and the sun. All right. Now, in order to find the Tithi of birth that maps to the sign of the zodiac that is significant for that birth, we can employ a very simple calculation. Now, what we're going to arrive at is a sign of the zodiac and a degree of the zodiac which illustrates the purpose of the birth of that soul or that living being. Right? Did I lose anybody or did I lose everybody?
Is that the Jyotirlinga?
Yes? Jyotirlinga simply means that there are 12 conjunctions of the sun and the moon in 12 signs of the zodiac. Now, what we're going to do with this is that mapping the Tithi to the signs of the zodiac. First of all, you find the percentage of the Tithi that has expired at the time of birth. Now, most Jyotish programs, particularly Jay Hora, Jagannath Hora, will give you the percentage of the Tithi that was left at the time of birth. In other words, the percentage of the Tithi that was remaining. So what you do is simply take that percentage and you subtract it from 100. Then you have the percentage of the Tithi that is expired. Convert that into decimals. This is a simple way of doing it. And then multiply that times 12. The quotient becomes the sign of the zodiac, the number of signs of the zodiac expired, and the percentage are the degrees in minutes. Okay? So we're going to take an example here of Swami Vivekananda Swami's chart. So in Vivekananda Swami's chart, 49.85% of Krishna Saptami Tithi remained at birth. Krishna Saptami Tithi is very, very appropriate for a sannyasi, is it not? It's ruled by Saturn. And we'll see how. Kill those cell phones. Now, so 49.85% of Krishna Saptami Tithi remained at birth. So you subtract that from 100 to get the percentage of the Tithi that was expired. 50.15%. Now, convert that into decimals,